In the deep shadows of the Jurassic forests, a low growl vibrates through the ferns. Here, peace is an illusion. The ecosystem is a brutal arms race, where herbivores are not merely food, but fortified warriors. Evolution has pushed biology to its absolute limit, crafting organic weaponry capable of shattering bone and piercing hide. We are about to uncover the ultimate survival strategies. This is not a monster. This was a living animal, fighting for survival. In this dossier, we will move beyond the bones to resurrect its world. This is the Jurassic Defenders, the living dossier. Let's journey back to a world where the past is reborn. To truly appreciate the brilliance of these designs, we must first understand the arena in which they were forged. We are focusing on the late Jurassic, a period spanning approximately 155 to 145 million years ago. As our timeline highlights, this was the golden age of gigantism. The supercontinent Pangaea was beginning to fracture, creating lush, dangerous environments across what is now North America and Africa. But the most critical statistic here is predator scale. With hunters like Sauropod and Torvosaurus evolving powerful jaws designed to crush bone, passive survival was a death sentence. As we pull up the bioprofiles for today's analysis, we aren't looking at just one species, but distinct engineering solutions adopted by the plant eaters. We will classify our top 5 defenses into 3 categories: active weaponry, passive armor, and structural size. From the spiked tails of the thyreophorans to the whip-cracking sauropods, these are the vital statistics of survival in the most dangerous epoch on Earth. To understand the shield, we must understand the sword. The Jurassic landscape was not a passive backdrop. It was a tactical chessboard that dictated every defensive adaptation we are about to analyze. Picture the vast Morrison Formation of North America. It is a world of extremes, semi-arid floodplains baking under a relentless sun, transitioning abruptly into dense, claustrophobic forests of conifers, tree ferns, and towering monkey puzzle trees. In these deep thickets, visibility is near zero. As our environmental reconstruction shows, a predator like Allosaurus or Ceratosaurus could vanish into the shadows mere meters away. This lack of visibility favored the armored tanks. They didn't need to run, they needed to pivot and strike in close quarters. The dense vegetation meant that an attack was likely an ambush, requiring defenses that were instantly deployable. Conversely, move out to the open floodplains, and the rules of engagement change entirely. Here, there is nowhere to hide. This open terrain drove the evolution of the sauropods. Their defense wasn't about concealment, it was about dominating the horizon. The landscape of fear, a concept ecologists use to describe how predators shape an ecosystem, was in full effect here. The constant pressure from theropods didn't just kill individuals, it steered the very flow of evolution. Every spike, every plate, and every colossal tail we see today was a direct answer to a specific question asked by this brutal environment. How do you survive when the geography itself works against you? Now, we move into the anatomy of the survivors to uncover our first 2 defensive masterpieces. We begin with the heavy infantry of the Jurassic, the thyreophorans. Here, biology functions as an architectural fortress. At number 1, we have perhaps the most famous biological weapon in history, the thagomizer of the Stegosaurus. For decades, this tail was viewed merely as a deterrent, but modern analysis paints a far more violent picture. When we examine the skeletal structure of the tail base, we see massive attachment points for muscles that drove lateral movement. Unlike the rigid tails of theropods, the Stegosaurus tail was a flexible, high-velocity whip. Our biomechanical models indicate that a Stegosaurus could swing this tail with enough force to generate between 6,000 and 9,000 newtons of force. That is not a warning tap, that is a bone-shattering strike. And we have the forensic proof. Paleontologists have recovered a tail vertebra from an Allosaurus with a puncture wound that perfectly matches the geometry of a Stegosaurus spike. The bone didn't just crack, it was pierced. This proves that the thagomizer was a precision instrument used in active combat, capable of crippling a multi-ton predator instantly. But if we travel to the Jurassic sediments of Tanzania, we find our number 2 design, arguably even more sophisticated, the parascapular spines of the Kentrosaurus. While its cousin, the Stegosaurus, focused on rear defense, the Kentrosaurus solved a different tactical problem. Being smaller, it was vulnerable to being flanked. A predator latching onto the neck or shoulders would be fatal. Evolution's answer was a pair of massive, elongated spikes erupting directly from the shoulder blades. As our 3D reconstruction demonstrates, these weren't just for show. They turned the animal's entire side profile into a kill zone. If a predator attempted to flank a Kentrosaurus, the herbivore didn't need to turn its whole body. By simply pivoting its hips and swinging its tail, the front of the body creates a fulcrum, driving that shoulder spike backward toward the attacker. It effectively guarded the animal's blind spot. Comparing the two, the Stegosaurus utilized a broadsword approach, a long-reach weapon to keep enemies at bay. The Kentrosaurus, however, utilized a dagger philosophy, close quarters, omnidirectional defense that made the animal dangerous to touch from any angle. These skeletal adaptations transformed these slow-moving herbivores into fortresses that could bleed a predator dry. Leaving the armored tanks behind, we look upward to the titans of the Jurassic for our 3rd and 4th designs. Design number 3 is a masterpiece of bioengineering found in the Diplodocus, the sonic whip. If you look at the tail of a Diplodocus, the vertebrae undergo a dramatic transformation. They start massive near the hips, but taper down to delicate, rod-like bones at the tip, no wider than a finger. For years, this confused scientists. Why make the end of a weapon so fragile? The answer lies in velocity, not mass. Computer simulations reveal that a Diplodocus could flick this tail tip at supersonic speeds. This wasn't just a lash. It created a literal sonic boom, a crack loud enough to rupture a predator's eardrums or disorient a pack. It was psychological warfare and physical trauma combined. But for those who survived the whip, they faced design number 4, the defense of absolute scale. In the animal kingdom, there is a threshold where prey becomes a landscape. An adult Brachiosaurus or Apatosaurus didn't need to fight. They simply existed. By growing to 20, 30, or 50 tons, they exited the food chain entirely. The energy cost for a predator to take down a healthy adult was simply too high. Their sheer mass was an impenetrable shield, granting them a form of biological immunity. However, not everything could grow into a giant or a tank. Our 5th and final design takes the opposite approach, high-velocity evasion. This strategy belonged to small ornithopods like Dryosaurus. In a world of heavyweights, they were the sprinters. With large eyes for scanning the horizon and powerful, long legs built for explosive acceleration, their defense was simple. Don't be there when the jaws snap. While the Stegosaurus stood its ground, the Dryosaurus survived by outrunning the extinction event of a predator's attack. It is time to dismantle a persistent Hollywood myth. The image of the herbivore as a gentle, passive victim, idly chewing ferns while waiting to be eaten. This cow-like portrayal is not only boring, it is biologically incorrect. In the reality of the Jurassic, the prey was often the aggressor. If we look at modern analogs, the most dangerous animals in Africa are not lions or leopards, but hippos and Cape buffalo herbivores that are fiercely territorial and hyper-aggressive. There is no reason to believe Jurassic dinosaurs were any different. When we analyze the pathology of predator fossils, the story changes. We have found Allosaurus specimens riddled with healed fractures, smashed ribs, broken jaws, and trauma to the legs. These are not the injuries of a master hunter effortlessly culling the weak. These are battle scars from a hunt that went wrong. The fossil record suggests that animals, like Stegosaurus or the sauropods, didn't just defend themselves when cornered. They likely held territory and engaged in preemptive strikes. The gentle giant is a fable. These were 5-ton wild animals flooded with adrenaline and testosterone, protecting their young and their patch of the forest. In many encounters, the predator wasn't the one feasting. It was the one lucky to escape with its life. These 5 designs, the thagomizer, the shoulder spike, the sonic whip, the shield of size, and the engine of speed, were not random accidents of nature. They were the ultimate answers to a brutal question posed by the Jurassic ecosystem. How do you survive the unstoppable? These blueprints were so successful that they didn't just keep individuals alive. They allowed these families of dinosaurs to dominate the Earth for millions of years. They turned the tables on the predators, proving that in the game of evolution, the best offense is often an unbreakable defense. Which of these 5 defensive strategies impresses you the most? Would you trust the armor of the Stegosaurus or the sheer size of the Brachiosaurus? Comment below with the dinosaur you want us to create a dossier for next. And don't forget to like and subscribe to join our journey back to the lost world.